Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Bobby, and I like to talk, and today I'm doing a review of the new Netflix series, Jessica Jones. So, I'm not really familiar with the character Jessica Jones. I've never read the comic books having to do with her. I've actually never even heard of her, because it's one thing I don't read the comic book, but I also normally have heard of other characters that I've never, seen or followed. So Jessica Jones, brand new character to me. So watching the show, I kind of just watched it because I watched Daredevil and I really enjoyed that series. And I know that it all ties together because that's what Marvel's doing right now. What I really like about the show is that it doesn't make it that you had to know who the character was. Sometimes shows, I think, are kind of relying on you having prior knowledge to a character, which, like I said, I have done. But it does a pretty good job establishing who the character is, or at least making you feel like you kind of care about the character. You don't necessarily need to know what their past history is, because they're slowly introducing that with every episode. So I really did like that. So the first episode does a really good job of establishing the character. We see her life. She's a PI, and she's a badass chick. She drinks, she screws, she smokes. I don't think she smokes, but she does whatever she feels like doing, and she just is that girl who, no one's gonna tell her what to do, and she's gonna do what she wants. And they do a good job of just establishing that, but you can also tell at the same time that she's haunted by something. And I think that that's what us as the audience is really trying to uncover, really try to figure out. Clearly she's going through something. It's like she has kind of a PTSD haunted personality that's kind of looming. I really like how this show hits the ground running, kind of like what I said before, where I don't really know who the character is, and I don't think too many people are that familiar with her, but they don't really spend so much time on this long, drawn-out exposition of her backstory, how she got her powers. So basically what I got from it off the bat is she's a PI, how I described her before, but she also has superpowers. I don't really know the extent of all her superpowers, but what we see once we jump in is she has super strength, and she uses them as she needs to or as she feels like it. So it's not your stereotypical quote-unquote superhero show, because she's not necessarily a superhero. She's just a person with powers, is really what I was getting the feel of so far throughout the show. We don't even really get our first real flashback until episode 5, where I think it goes months, if not a year in the past. We kind of get to see how she was before certain incidents take place. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone, but certain incidents take place that kind of make her into the type of person that we're following in the present day. Throughout the series, I really found it so cool. I found myself really liking the whole detective angle, that theme of the show, because that's pretty much how I saw her, or how I see her throughout the show, that she's just this detective. She's a PI, she's a private investigator, and she gets hired from different people throughout the show. You can kind of see her methods, how she's going throughout New York, following whoever she needs to follow, this and that. The show kind of goes forward with one case that she had from the very beginning of the series. We're kind of dealing with the after effects of that. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but it's pretty intense. It's darker than I thought it was going to be. It's gritty. So this is the direction I see that Marvel takes on Netflix. And I gotta say, I'm actually pretty happy about it. For this, it felt like an HBO series at a point. I was just like, whoa, this is right out of the gate. I'm like, all right, well, hey, I'm already along for this ride, so I might as well keep on where I'm at. Okay, what I'm about to say next was something that, they pretty much told you in the trailer. It's not something that's gonna ruin anything for you at all, but the villain. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this guy's name is Kilgrave, and remember what I said about in the beginning, we feel like something's haunting her? Okay, well, this guy's totally haunting her. The idea, the memory of this guy is haunting her. And they established this guy's MO from the jump. Before we even see the actual character, before we actually meet him or introduced to who he is and how he acts, we already feel like this guy's bad news, She's calm and cool, and she's collected throughout most of her interactions with people. But anything that kind of hints to him, you see she starts to lose her grasp on reality. She starts to lose herself, and you can see her struggling with this. It's PTSD. She's been through stuff with this guy who has affected her. Just know that it was delivered really well. The actors did a good job with it, and I gotta say, even they established this whole paranoia feel. And I live in New York, so After I watched the series and I was on the subway and I'm just like looking around, I'm just like, any one of these people. And we also get Luke Cage. I was more familiar with Luke Cage's character before this show even had any buzz. Not to say that I actually followed his comic books, but I knew of him. So when he was introduced in it, I thought it was really cool. I like that it kind of seemed really fluid, really natural how they kind of incorporate these characters in the same universe. I mean, in the same city. And just before, like harkening back to Daredevil, you know he's somewhere in this city too. So it makes more sense. I like that this universe that they're creating with the movie universe and television universe is something that feels more cohesive. They reference things. There was a scene, someone referenced The Incident, and we know that The Incident was what took place in New York in the first Avengers movie. So you kind of see after the after effects of that. You even saw that in Daredevil when they mentioned that, and they had a couple references, but they're not relying heavily on the fact that these movies exist. It's just people exist in this world, so, you know, yeah. What you get in most shows like this, when there's a protagonist, I'm not going to call her a hero, because what we see throughout the series is that she's not necessarily a hero. She's the protagonist, and there is a villain, and she has to stop the villain. The villain uses whatever means to attack her, ruin her, make her feel like she's the worst person in the world, has made her do things in the past, and is making her do things now, in that she now has to kind of dive into the type of person that she is. Is she a hero? Is she not? She's kind of going through an existential crisis of herself, which is all well and good. My only complaint with the show, and this is probably more to say about me than it does to say about the show, I binge watched the hell out of this show. I watched the entire series the day it came out, just in succession. I just ran through, obviously skip credits, skip theme song, just so I could watch as much of it as I could, because I was really excited. I was really enjoying the show. When you do that though, unfortunately, you kind of start to see the redundancy a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, whereas if I spread it out a couple days, if not even like a couple of hours, I probably would have gotten less sick of the idea of her saying all the time, you know, hey, he's after me, I gotta handle this, I gotta make this right, I gotta fix this, I'm the only one who could do it, blah, 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 but she has people around her who could potentially help her, who have tried, but maybe their plans haven't really succeeded too well. You have that in any show, you have that in anything, but it just felt like you're not really handling it too well on your own. Actually, you're doing a pretty crappy job of it, and a lot of people are dying around you, so maybe just accept people's help, end it as quickly as possible, and stop wasting time. You know, stop wasting time. But I can't really say that, because if they did not waste time for a 13 episode series, the show would have been like, I guess, half of that, maybe 6 episodes or something, and that would have been terrible, because I really enjoyed watching it. So that's my complaint, but it has more to do with me. So unless you feel that way too, in which case that has a lot to do with us. So there you go. Just kind of going into the plot of the show, kind of going into the details of the show. Jessica Jones is a woman who, when she was a girl, she was in an accident, and that accident gave her powers. We don't really understand the entire circumstances of how that accident really just gave her powers. She meets this guy who has the ability to manipulate people. Obviously, that's not giving too much away, because you see that in the trailer. So he controls her at a point and makes her do things for his purposes. The guy's name is Kilgrave. And you kind of see the aftermath of what happens after she kind of shook him or broke free, or whatever the case was, where she wasn't under his control anymore for a while. And she's struggling with the things that she did, because it's not like the contemporary kind of brain control where you're under a trance and you don't know what you did. You know exactly what you did after what happened. You're just kind of like dealing with it, because I think how it works is you felt the desire to do it. They go more in depth in the show, and obviously even more in depth in comic books online if you do some more research, if you're still confused after the fact. But I thought that was a really interesting way of doing it. I've seen mind control before. I've seen things having to do with compulsion before, but you're not, you know, you don't have your whole wits about you. Whereas this one, it's like you do, but you don't. So you're there, but you're not. And I thought that was pretty interesting, because how the character Kilgrave used it really just made me feel like, wow, this guy, he is menacing. He is scary. Like, I'm actually afraid of that character, whereas I'm not afraid of any other kind of character who's a villain. Like, sure, there's scary characters. They have a looming presence, and they have a lot of different dark elements to them. But for some reason, he just seems so much more menacing. I don't know. That's just me. All in all, the show comes together really well. You believe it. It has this nice, cool detective mystery noir feel to it that I don't think that Marvel has necessarily done before. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of what the show has to offer when the next season comes out. I don't know, I guess that's next year. I'll definitely check it out. I think you guys should check it out too. Watch the first season if you haven't. Well, if you're not hooked after the first episode, there's something wrong with you, and watch the second episode. That's all I gotta say. It's really cool. I'm looking forward to the next season of Daredevil, and I know Luke Cage is coming out too because they did a good job with him in this show too. They really gave him his role, which I think is important because from the research that I've done, they're kind of important to each other. So, oh, and towards the end of the series, we have a pretty cool cameo that's like, it just shows that, yes, this is all the same world, so it's not something that feels like, you just did that for the popularity. No, it's like, no, that would totally make sense because that's how it even works in real life. It's actually a really small world, and this world happens to have super-powered beings in it, and people who know them running all around, so you never know who you might run into. So that's my review of Jessica Jones. Bottom line, I liked it. I think you guys will too. Check it out. It's on Netflix. There's not much more to be said about it. Alright guys, thank you for watching so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, press that like button and also subscribe because I will be making some more review videos. I think that it's fun to do some review stuff because I watch a lot of stuff and I like talking about it. So thanks once again, and I'll see you in the next one.